computer is picking up a strange signal. Here, sir, you better take a look at it.
Hi, and welcome to Sci-Fi Snacks. I'm Liz J. Bradley, a science fiction author and poet who adores short fiction and snacks. Each episode of Sci-Fi Snacks is a short and sweet, or salty, discussion of what I loved, what I learned, and what I snacked on while reading new-to-me short science fiction. As always, links to the short stories are in the show notes, so if you haven't read this week's story, head on over, pick up your favorite snack, and then join me as we discuss this week's story. Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Sci-Fi Snacks. I am your host, Liz J. Bradley, a writer and reader who is just snacking her way through short fiction. I'm so excited that you have returned, or maybe it's your first time listening. You started in on episode 2. You rebel. Go for it. What's great about this podcast is you really don't need to listen to every episode. I would love it if you listened to every episode, but you don't have to. You can just dip in and dip out whenever it works for you. So this week, we are talking about the short piece of fiction called 5 Views of the Planet Tartarus by Rachel K. Jones. This was published in January 2024 in issue 164 of Lightspeed Science Fiction and Fantasy. Now, you can read this online. I will link it in the show notes below. This is a quick one. It's only 549 words, but let me tell you, those 549 words pack a punch, and I love this story. So, we're going to talk about the snack. The way I pick my snacks is super scientific, and that means not scientific at all. Actually, I went through 3 different ideas for the snack for this when I was sitting there staring at my spreadsheet going, what do I pair with this without reading it? Because I'm eating the snack while I'm reading the story for the first time. So I want to pick something that I think is going to pair well with the story, but I haven't read the story yet. So I have to make a little guess, play with context clues. I will read the author's bios, see if there's anything in there that kind of tickles my fancy and gives me an idea. Now, this one, the first idea I had, it came from the word Tartarus. Now, it's the name of a planet. I know that much, at least in this story. And it made me think of tartar. Now, I am not someone who likes to eat raw food or raw meats and things like that. So I was like, well, I'm not going to really do like beef tartare or tuna tartare or anything like that. But I found this really cool vegan sushi where you use watermelon to recreate like the taste and texture of tuna tartare. And so I took that little recipe link and I put it in my spreadsheet and I said, yes, that's it. That's clever. People will think I'm clever. And I was kind of excited. I don't eat sushi. I don't know what I was thinking. I went in and decided to read the story, and I looked at the recipe for this fake watermelon tuna tartare. It was going to take me hours. You have to do like 5 steps to this watermelon to get it to taste like tuna, maybe. And I don't even know if I like tuna tartare. So I decided I was not going to do that. And watermelon's really expensive right now because it's not in season. So those were my excuses. So then I said, okay, what else can I do? The number 5. I was like, a 5-ingredient snack. And then I thought of those little like protein ball things that we make with like oats and honey and nut butter of some sort. And sure enough, I get on Google and I find there are 5-ingredient protein ball things. And so I was like, that's great. I can whip those up really quick with stuff I already have. and it will be clever and tasty, which really, what else do you need? So I get into my pantry and I realize I have 4 of the 5 ingredients. I do not have rolled oats or the very specific type of oatmeal that you need for this. And really, I didn't have any oatmeal. I had one instant oatmeal cup that was already mixed with a bunch of stuff. It's got the powdered milk and the flavors and all of that. And I said, that's not going to work. I don't want to make a disaster, so I'm just going to find something. And in the back of my pantry, to save me, was a box of Junior Mints. I love Junior Mints. I bought these for a cake that I was going to make that I didn't make, but I decided, great, I'm going to grab these. I'm going to grab my phone. I read a lot in the pickup line waiting for my kids to get out of school. So I said, great, Junior Mints, grab my sparkling water, grab my phone. I am good to go. So I'm going to go read and snack on Junior Mints. So that's how we ended up with Junior Mints being the snack of choice for 5 views of the planet Tartarus. Now, what I really love about this is at the end, I'll let you know, they worked perfectly. This little snack hiding in the back of my pantry had a beautiful connection to this little morsel of a story, and it was delightful. When that happened in my brain, when I made that connection at the end, I was so excited. So, thumbs up on the snack for this one. Now, I am going to read you the bio of our author for this week, and then I'll give you a short little summary of this short story, and we're going to dive in. Rachel K. Jones grew up in various cities across Europe and North America, picked up and mostly forgot 6 languages, and acquired several degrees in the arts and sciences. Now she writes speculative fiction in Portland, Oregon. Rachel is a Hugo Award winner, a finalist for the Hugo, Nebula, Locus, Bram Stoker, and World Fantasy Award. Her fiction has appeared in dozens of venues worldwide, including Lightspeed, Beneath Ceaseless Skies, Strange Horizons, and Amazon Prime's hit series Secret Level. Follow her on Blue Sky at rachelkjones.bsky.social or find her at rachelkjones.com. All right, if you have not read this story, I'm going to suggest that you pause this podcast, go down to the show notes, click on the link, and read it. It's only 500 something words. It'll only take a minute, and I'm going to talk about spoilers. So, you have been warned. Now we're diving in. All right, 5 views of the planet Tartarus. What I love is this short little piece is divided into 5 sections. They're very bolded, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see them laid out really cleanly. And in each of these sections, we get this beautiful little snippet of a space shuttle diving through the rings of this planet called Tartarus with prisoners to bring to this factory called the Orpheus Factory. And the first snippet is basically just that, flying through. The second snippet, they're on the planet. They are in a trial that is clearly a circus. It's just for show. In the third snippet, we have the prisoners now going into this factory because, of course, they're all guilty. And they're all headed in here, and these machines are doing crazy things to them. And then in the fourth, we get this kind of twist of what happens to these prisoners in this factory. It's not what you think. They are essentially hooked up to these spacesuits that are self-contained, and then they put them all back on the spaceship. And then in the 5th section, we get this amazing moment where I was just like, oh my gosh, it all comes back around, where they shoot all of these prisoners out into space and they join the ring around the planet, which is just all the prisoners. So that segues in really well to what I loved about this story. This twist ending, I didn't guess it. I was so along for this ride, and reading that first section, I thought when they were hitting everything as they came through these rings, I was like, ugh, judging those pilots, because I was like, what terrible people. Clearly, we're supposed to be on the side of the prisoners, and these pilots are just jerks who are making their life harder. And then we get to this final scene, and it hits me, pun intended, right as they're shooting these prisoners out. And I'm like, oh my God, the prisoners are the rings. And that's why they're hitting them, because the alternative is an indefinite life, a never-ending life of torture spinning around these planets. So these pilots are actually good. Are they good? Not fully, but it's complicated. And I love that. I love that in such a short space, we got this foundation of what we thought we believed. And then at the end, it didn't feel like a gotcha twist. It felt like an epiphany of, you know, that meme where there are two guys, they're standing there and they're looking down at the ground, and one of them is like, I see a 9, and the other's like, no, you're stupid, it's a 6, or whatever. And it's just your perspective is different, and you don't know that yours is, that there are multiple truths because you haven't seen their perspective. That's what this felt like. And that was such a refreshing read of a twist, where it was like, oh, all of these things are true, because the pilots, they're complicit, but also they're doing this resistance work, I guess, that like they're doing what they can within their system. And I think that that's something that right now feels really timely. I think it's probably always been timely, of what can any one person do? Could I bring down this whole prison planet and whatnot? No, but I can do my one thing. And people will judge me for all the things that I do, but I can still try. And I thought that was just like mind-blowing, and I loved that. I also loved that this was really short, but it was complete. It was a whole story. It didn't give you anything that you didn't need. Every single sentence was packed with meaning, with flair, with beautiful world building of this really stark, awful future that feels real. And it didn't waste any space, which was really cool. And the last thing that I really, really loved is when I was reading the interview with Jones, with Rachel Jones, she mentioned that this came out of an old piece of her writing, that she had written it for a contest. It had lived in a folder on her computer, and she was just going through cleaning up things, and she found it, and she was like, oh, this piece of old writing. And she was able to, with the distance and the time and whatever had happened in her life, finish it and send it out afterwards and give it this life and let it see the light of day. And I really loved that it proved to me in a way that no writing is wasted, because there can be life for things that you've written that maybe it's just not their time yet. And that was a good lesson learned too. So it was something that I loved, but also something that I learned, because it was reinforcing that idea that not all of those stories that are sitting on my hard drive are going to get picked up right away. Maybe it's just they need some time to cook. They need some time I need the time to have different life experiences, to mature as a writer, and that they're not dead because I didn't get it right the first time. They can still have life ahead of them. And I really love seeing that played out. I thought that was great. Some other things that I learned was the 5 views structure and the title in short fiction. I really liked that this story was not trying to do too much. I think that When you transition from writing a novel to short stories, people are like, oh, it's easy. It's just like a chapter, or it's something short. And I think that it's a lot harder than people first think. And even reading the title, I was like, ooh, 5 views of the planet Tartarus. And I saw that first one and I was like, oh, this is great. We're going to get 5 different points of view and we're going to go really deep and it's going to be this really complicated thing. And in the end, it wasn't, but it didn't need to be. And so I think the lesson here is to not overcomplicate things, especially in short stories, flash especially. It's about one thing. And so it's 5 views, but it's these 5 important moments that add up to something. It's your 5 ingredients that you put together to create one beautiful little thing. And I know I was going to bring it around to my snack again. And what that was is the junior mints, when I eat them, I like to squish them. I don't know if anybody else does this. I polled my friends and some of them squish their junior mints and crack the little outside before eating them, either in their fingers or in their mouth. And then my other friend looked at me like she had no idea what I was saying. And what I was doing as I was reading is I was cracking these little junior mints and then throwing them in my mouth and enjoying it. And I got to the part at the end where I was like, oh my gosh, they're hitting all of the bodies to break the suits so that they will finally end this sentence, that their prison sentence can finally end, because otherwise they would just be there forever. And I was like, crack of the little junior mint. I was like, oh my gosh, the junior mints crack. The spacesuits crack. It's a perfect match. So I did a good job, completely by accident, matching my snack to this story. So I wanted to thank you again for listening this week and spending some time with me talking about snacks and sci-fi. And I want to remind you again, all of the stories are linked in the show notes. If you want to know when the next episode is going to go live and you don't want to have to remember to look it up, you can head to my website and sign up for my newsletter. Thanks so much for spending time with me today. Keep on snacking.